Yo! Jeez, man. It's Good Job Project, man. Today, yes, in effing deed. What you saw was exactly correct. What you're thinking is exactly what you're thinking. Look, I didn't get the people's champ, The Rock. But we did get, whether you like it or not, Brock Lesnar. All right, anyway, let's get Josh Project, man. Today we're back at you on another video. Yes, indeed, you heard that correctly. We did get Brock Lesnar, man. Brock Lesnar has made his return at WWE Summerslam Sunday Night 2. He made his return. And I got to start with that because of the simple fact that one, sorry for my smoothie, but one, I know that's what everybody's talking about right now. And I got to get my second video out today. So I already know that's what everybody's talking about. And it's fresh on my mind, so I gotta make sure I don't forget nothing. But let's let's goddamn do the goddamn thing. Let's do this, man. Look, so the show ended with Brock Lesnar indeed returning after Cena and Cody had a great match, man. I rated it a 9 out of 10, man. There was no shenanigans. There was no extra people involved in the match. None of that. It was just two guys who are great at what they do going at it. And Cena even pulled out more moves, man. I'll give a more thorough rundown through the match, but I had to address that first. Is that Brock Lesnar did indeed come back. And Cena pulled out a couple more moves. I'll get into who won. You may or may not know that already, but I'm going to get into it. But Brock did return at the end of the show. I repeat, Brock Lesnar returned at the end of the show. But let me goddamn make my way to that. Rewind. We started off the show with some two girls, I forgot their name. They sung some song to start the show off and stuff like that. And then you had Drewski little promo package got done telling us exactly what we was in for SummerSlam. So then the show started off with the game Triple H. And he was basically just welcoming everybody to SummerSlam. Pyro goes off and whatnot. And, you know, he's hitting your Are you ready? Are you ready? You know what I'm saying? So we started off with the women's triple threat for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, man. God damn. So it was a 10 out of 10 match. The ladies had a triple threat, or closest to a 10 out of 10 match you can get. It was Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. Happened at this past year's WrestleMania 40, one of the few great matches on that show. And this time it was the same people except for one. It was Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Naomi this time. And Naomi was the Women's World Champion. So she came in, or everybody did their interest, and then Naomi does her interest. Did it with her dad, man. I forgot his name. I think it was like Sean something. I could be completely wrong. But it was her dad, and he's apparently the guitarist that made her. I think he made her theme song because he was able to play it. So judging by the fact that he was able to play it on his guitar, and that's what he did. And then, so yeah, she came out there with her dad, who apparently is like a renowned guitarist, man. So that was freaking fire, man. That alone probably should have told us that she was winning the match. She should have won the match anyway. But boom, Naomi comes out there. She's doing her thing. She's doing her thing and doing it well, walking, and she's talking down to the ring. And as she makes her way to the ring, with her dad playing the guitar and all that stuff, she gets in the ring. They obviously announced the people in the ring and all that good stuff, and then we got into the action. Now I don't know, or I don't remember a whole lot in this match, except for there was a great spot that Naomi did her split leg moonsault finisher. I know all the females seem like they got moonsaults as a finish, but Naomi did her split-legged moonsault on the Rhea Ripley, and then moved out of the way, and Io hit her moonsault. So two moonsaults on the Rhea Ripley back to back, and she then hit some type of move where you kind of do a full Nelson to raise them up and drop them down on their butt, and she rolled through with the 1-2, and Io kicked out of that. And then I know there was a spot where Io dove through the ropes to do a sunset bomb, and she power bombed Rhea Ripley onto Naomi on the floor. There was also one where Io did she going crazy, did the acai moonsault where you jump to the second rope and backflip off of it. She did that to the outside to both Naomi and Rhea Ripley, and the match actually started off with Naomi rolling out of the ring like y'all go fight each other, but then they went after her. I know they all do it to the black folk. Y'all all gotta jump us, but anyway. The finish of the match was Rhea Ripley hit a riptide off the top rope, and she went for the cover, the 1, 2, and Naomi came from behind to stop Rhea Ripley from hitting the pin cover, and she pinned her into a roll-up position for the 1, 2, 3. Naomi got the win and retained her Women's World Championship, so I was 1-0 in predictions by that point. I had my predictions that I had made before the show was and all the other type of stuff. I predicted the who I thought was gonna win, based off not who I wanted to win, but who I thought was gonna win, / who I wanted to win. It was a little mixture of both. But to try to get the predictions correct, I predicted Naomi, and I felt she should have won it because that would have been a waste of her money in the bank if she would have just lost like that. But she retained. I gave the match like an 8 out of 10. I did think the WrestleMania one was better, but it was a solid to good opening to the goddamn show. Then we got what I felt was either the match of the year contender / also the best match on this card, and you could even maybe say the whole weekend, and I wouldn't blame you. It was the TLC tag match, and that was between Fraxium, Axiom, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, Street Profits, Andrade and Ray Phoenix, and Wyatt 6, man. Those 6 teams, I gotta give them their credit. Yep, Fraxium. I'm gonna make sure I get it right. DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, Street Profits, Fraxium, Andrade, and Ray Phoenix, and then Wyatt 6. And the Wyatt 6 were the ones who came in as the WWE Tag Team Champions. So TLC match, ladder, tables, ladders, and chairs. Titles are hung up above, and they did introduce the Dudley Boys, and they crowd did get the tables, and then they also showed Jeff and Matt Hardy, man. Dope seeing my child there right there, at least on Jeff's end. I think Matt wasn't wrestling as much when I was watching, but yeah, Jeff Hardy, man, they were out there, one of the greatest tag teams, not the greatest tag team of all time. To me, they're the greatest tag team of all time. The Hardys, man, Hardy Boys, they were there, you know what I'm saying? They obviously in TNA and stuff like that. So 2 out of 3, obviously Edge and Christian aren't in WWE. So 2 out of 3 of the guys, they was like saying it was the 25th anniversary since the first TLC match at SummerSlam with the tag teams. And boy, did they deliver, man. The spots I remember was there was a spot where there were 4 table spots back to back to back to back. It was I think it was like Johnny Gargano hit a DDT onto. Oh no, that's not the first spot I remember. The first spot I actually go to my TikTok because I actually posted clips of me reacting to this match, certain highlights of the match. But so that's how I'm able to remember some of this. There was a spot where the Street Profits were about to get Joe Gacy, who's a part of the Wild 6. They were about to do a backdrop where, they pushed the guy in the air and he got flipped somersaults over into the ladder. And they missed the ladder and the crowd was like, oh. And then the Street Profits took Joe Gacy, who was out on the floor and rolled out on the floor, threw him back into the ring and delivered the backdrop, and he landed on the ladder. That was hilarious. So, Montez Ford was doing this thing, getting the crowd hyped, making sure they do the arm motion and stuff like that. So that was fire. And then there was a spot where Montez was about to get thrown into this table that was in the corner, and he leaped over the top rope, did his, tope over the top rope onto, I forgot who it was. And then it was this. Johnny Gargano hits a DDT in through the table off the apron to, I think it was Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy was just getting whooped. I think it was him. Joe Gacy threw a table, DDT through a table. So that was one corner. Then immediately the next thing we see as we go to the next corner is Ray Phoenix delivering a frog splash through the table to, who was it? Was it Nathan Fraser? Was it Fraser? I could be wrong on that. But Phoenix delivered a splash to somebody through a table. And then on the next corner, I think it was oh, no. Rewind. It was a DDT by Gargano to, I think, Joe Gacy through a table. Then the next corner was actually Dexter Lumis, who hit like, it looked like it was going to be a leg drop, but it was more of a senton because he landed on Montez, I think, through a table with his lower back. So it was more of like a senton than a leg drop, but he jumped off the top of the ring post and did like a senton leg drop type maneuver through the table, through Montez. And then that's when Rey Fenix delivered a frog splash to the other corner that had a table there. I think he might have did that on the Nathan Fraser. And then Tommaso Ciampa was on the fourth corner or on a table in the fourth corner, and he was about to get a swanton potentially from Angelo Dawkins, and it ended up being Axiom to come in there, deliver the kick to Dawkins, set him up for what we ended up getting. And Ciampa, as they're about to do the move, Ciampa rolls out of the way, gets off the table, and they end up doing a Spanish fly from the top of the ring post through the goddamn table. Now, if you don't know what a Spanish fly is, it's the thing where they, one guy's right here, the other guy's right here. He basically grabs a hold of you, kind of like, grabs a hold of you like this. So one guy's facing that way, the other guy's facing this. You're looking there, the other guy's looking there. You grab him, and then y'all, you back flip, and then the other guy front flips. And yeah, it's hard to explain, but you might have to just look it up if you don't know. And boom, they did a Spanish fly through the goddamn table, and that was probably the best spot of the match. Holy shit, we got those chants from the crowd, and very justifiably so. And so, yeah. Then in the match, that was a crazy spot, best spot of the match. Then, Tommaso Ciampa, was it Tommaso Ciampa? Was it? Or I could be out of order here. But there was also a spot where all the girls started fighting, like B-Fab, Nikki Cross, and then Candice LeRae was in there. So Candice LeRae was about to get the titles for them, and Montez Ford hit a kick onto Tommaso Ciampa, which had Tommaso Ciampa, shoving himself into Gargano, who shoved himself into the ladder that Candice was on, and Candice fell off the top of the ladder and went through another ladder. Candice got done took a bully. I know she's been on the indies in the past, so it's not shocking that she was willing to take a spot like that, but God done, what a freaking spot right there. But then I think Tommaso Ciampa was climbing up to the top where they have the rack that has the championships on it, and he's grabbing a hold of them, and somebody moved the ladder out the way, so he's just dangling in the air holding on to the goddamn hangers. And you're thinking that it's about to be the same thing that happened in the TLC match earlier this year, the SmackDown after WrestleMania this year, where he's gonna hold on to it and he's dangling in the air and gets a spear. But this time it was gonna be by Fraser. But this time Ciampa moves out the way by core strength. Bro been in the gym, because he lifted himself up to where he was basically upside down, still holding on to the rack, because he lifted it like how you would do like a seated leg raise, basically. So he basically lifted himself up out the way where he was upside down, which I've never seen that before. And so that led to Fraser missing, and then he does a springboard moonsault, bounces off the middle rope and does the backflip, but he gets caught with a super kick by Johnny Gargano. And as Johnny Gargano was about to climb up there, help Ciampa or whatnot by getting the ladder in position so that he could have somewhere to stand to get the titles, I think they both were on top of the ladder at some point, and I forgot who pushed them off, but one of the teams pushed, I think it might have been Street Profits, pushed Gargano and Ciampa off of the ladder, and they crashed on the outside of the ring through 4 tables. Now only 3 of them broke, but crashed through 4 freaking tables, even though only 3 of them broke. That was insane. Then I think there was a sunset flip powerbomb that Andrade did to somebody, I forgot, onto the ladder, but it didn't matter. See what I did there? Rhyming there. But then, boom, that happened, and then it led to the Wyatt Six doing what I thought they would do, and that's Joe Gacy getting the titles out from off the top, and they retained, as I figured, the WWE Tag Team Championships. Joe Gacy and Eric Rowan retained the championships. Go back and watch that match. It was a 10 out of 10 match. There was nothing better they could have done, bro. The match wasn't even 10 minutes in, and I was already giving it an 8 out of 10. That's how fast they was getting into some of these spots. Not all of them, but some of these spots they were getting in so quick and early. So just chaos. You got to watch it for yourself, man. But anyway, best match of the night by far, especially at this point. And then we get to the third match where it started going downhill from here, at least until it picked back up later on. But I got to call a spade and be fair. Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Women's Championship. So Becky came out to a new song. I think she teamed up with some band, and that's probably why it sounded pretty good and sounded like a real song, because she teamed up with some band and the song was pretty good. So she come down the ring, man. She's got a new song. It's no longer the whoa. But she got a new song. I hadn't really heard it back enough times to be able to quote it, or to say how it goes or anything. But boom, she comes down to the ring and she has the match with Lyra. Now, the only thing, I don't really remember a whole lot from this match, I'm gonna be honest. I know there was a spot where Becky gave her the zip ties, where she tied her wrists together. She got some zip ties out in the toolbox, and that led to her, delivering some moves to her. And Lyra did she trapped her within her arms so that she could deliver a belly to belly to Becky. And then Becky delivered a manhandle slam through like two chairs that were, seated across from each other to Lyra. And there was also Lyra with her hands tied, did like a, moonsault from the second rope in the corner, and hit that on Becky. And then there was one where Becky was trying to get her, and Lyra hit the fire extinguisher thing, where she sprays the fire extinguisher when you're looking for her underneath the ring. Then there was a spot where Lyra was held up by the ring post with her wrist tied up, and Becky went to got done hitting and started swinging her with the kendo stick. And then earlier, I should say, in the match, she also hit her like you doing, how you play golf and you swing like this. Now, Happy Gilmore is a movie, the second one, Happy Gilmore 2, just came out, with Adam Sandler and all them. And so she was in that movie, Happy Gilmore 2, which is, a golfing, the movie is about golfing and stuff like that. So she actually did a golf swing with a kendo stick to Lyra Valkyria. So that was kind of cool. Or that was kind of funny. That was neat. But boom. Then there was a spot on the outside of the ring. I think it might have been, was it Lyra delivered, I think, a Nightwing onto the floor. I think that was a spot as well. And then Becky trapped her into the chair. I remember more from this match than I thought. Becky trapped her into the chair and threw her into the ring post, and then threw her into the announce table and all that. And then she had got Lyra's crowbar, because earlier she had this long crowbar, and Becky picked it up, and she was about to, as Lyra's trapped into the chair. And before that, I should say, Becky actually stomped on top of the chair that was trapped in between the announce table, and boom, it crushes Lyra. And then as she laid down from that, she had that big crowbar, and she's about to swing at her. And then Bayley, big booty baby, Bayley, man, we love her, man. We was definitely saying, yeah. It is never, you know what they say, there's never a bad time to see Bayley, man. So she comes in, she grabs and she stops Becky from hitting her with the crowbar, and Becky's telling her to do it. She's telling her to do it. She wants her to hit her with the crowbar, and she was thinking about it, and she didn't do it. She ended up beating up Becky, or actually she was going to beat up Becky, and Becky had a steel chain wrapped around her fist, and I think she nailed Bayley with it. And she gets Lyra back into the ring. I think she might have delivered a manhandle slam that didn't get a 3 count. It was a kick out. It went in that order, I don't think. But the match ended with, if I'm not mistaken, Bayley was about to hit Becky with the steel chain wrapped around her fist or knuckles, and she missed her and hit Lyra instead. And I think that led to Becky then hitting a manhandle slam, or I think it might have been a manhandle slam. I don't think it was a roll up. I think it was a manhandle slam, and Bayley's in shock, she didn't mean to hit her, but she sure as hell didn't stop the pin. Because it was a no DQ match. So yeah, she did not get in the way and try to stop the pin. So that's going to lead to more drama, I'm guessing. So 1, 2, 3, Becky retained, which I wanted to happen. And I initially predicted Becky was going to win, but then I changed my mind during the prediction video. So I will take the hit on that. I was wrong. First time of the night I was wrong. I was 2-1 on predictions by this point. But I gave this match a 6, 6.5, because it was some fun stuff. But after that TLC match, there was, even though they continued to have a gimmick match, so that way they maybe didn't lose any steam, going from a big car crash match like that into something completely normal would have been a little weird. So maybe they thought putting this match was going to keep the momentum up. But in that case, I think one of these gimmick matches, where they have a stipulation, one of them should have been put on night 2, because they put all of them on night 2, or on night 1, I should say, because they put all of the gimmick matches on night 2. And not only that, they did them back to back to back. All 3 gimmick matches, they did them all back to back. Because then next up, or except for the street fight that was later on, because next up was the cage match. So think about this. We've had a TLC match, a no DQ match, and the next match is a cage match. So they did all of these gimmick matches back to back to back. So we got a cage match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. And what you figured happened. I mean, there was nothing of importance that happened to this match. Jacob delivered 2 mighty moonsaults back to back to Solo, and I was actually surprised that Solo kicked out of that one. And then, they teased going out the cage and the Tongans or Tama Tonga Tongaloa, not Tongaloa, or Tama Tonga, I should say. Tama Tonga is obviously, is he injured? I think he's injured. So yeah. Tongaloa and Tala Tonga, who used to be, I think, Hikaleo, they come out there and, scale the cage. And with JC Mateo, they scale the cage. Jimmy comes out there for the save, but then he gets put out. And yeah. The match ends with Jacob getting handcuffed to the top of the ring post or on the top of the cage thing, one of the bars on top of the cage, and then he pulls that off, gets Solo back into the ring, but then I think he gets the door slammed on him by Tala Tonga, and then Tala Tonga helps. they were not creative. I just realized he's tall, so he's Tala Tonga. Anyway, pulls Solo out of the cage, and Solo wins and retains the title, which I initially thought was going to happen, but again, in my predictions, I, for whatever reason, changed my mind. But 2-2 in predictions by this point. So Jacob was angry, so he starts taking his anger out on JC Mateo and Tongaloa, who were in the cage, and that led to Jacob going all the way to the top of the cage and hitting a moonsault onto both JC Mateo and Tongaloa. That's what they did after the match was over. And yeah, that was how this ended. It was nothing of importance. It ended exactly how you thought it was going to end. I think I gave this match like a 6 because there was a 5.5, maybe 6. I gave it a 6 because, first of all, Jacob did a moonsault off the top of the cage. They didn't do that during the match as like a false finish, maybe. Not false finish, but they didn't even do that as a way of like Jacob, maybe that's how he took himself out, right? He does a mighty moonsault from the top of the cage to the other Tongans, right? Boom. And maybe that's like the finish, right? Because he delivered that moonsault off the top of the cage, so maybe that took him out, and that's how Solo escapes. No, they waited till the match was over. Solo gets both feet out on the floor, beats Jacob by escaping the cage. And Jacob, then that's when Jacob, after the match is over, he's lost. That's when he hits the mighty moonsault off the top of the cage. I'm just like, why would you do that after the match rather than doing that during the match? I didn't understand that at all, why they did that. Like, why they did it. Hold on. Oop, I didn't know my phone was, I was looking at something on my phone, the volume was on. But anyway, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they didn't do that like in the match. Like that would have been a great thing to add to the match because that would have been something we hadn't seen before in the whole night. But anyway, I gave this match like a 5.5, 6. Same, so basically same pretty much rating as the women's match. It's just the women's match with the Intercontinental Champion, it just dragged on. Like it wasn't a whole lot of importance into the match as far as story is concerned. No type of return or debut. Not that I'm saying there should have been, but there was just nothing that was really setting you up for anything interesting in the future. And also, we just came off of that TLC match, so it was really tough for them to really get people back invested into this like that after that TLC match was so great as it was. So last 2 matches were a 6 out of 10 for me. Weren't that good. Especially because of what we saw with TLC, it definitely didn't have a chance. So that leads us to the next match. I was 2-2 in predictions. It was the co-main event. AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Dominic comes out there in his little, I said a little Shark Boy mask. Like it reminded me of Shark Boy for some reason from Shark Boy and Water Girl. But, not Water Girl, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I said Water Girl. I'm thinking the guy done Fireboy and Water Girl from the little game you used to play. Anyway, he came out with that, and AJ Styles, man, did his best Eddie Guerrero impression. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. He did his best Eddie Guerrero impression, and he came out there in similar tights that Eddie wears. He even had the, AJ, I think it was like Styles Heat, like a Latino Heat, but it said Styles and then Heat right there. So he had the Eddie design shirt and the Eddie Lowrider. So obviously he's messing. That was what he did for his entrance. So he came out in the Lowrider with his son in the passenger seat. That was fire. And so, yeah, man, playing around with Dominic there. And I don't really remember a lot that happened in this match other than Dominic did the thing where, he bashes the chair on the ground and throws it into AJ's hands and takes the fall like he got hit by so he can win by DQ. And then AJ, puts it in between his head, or puts the chair in between his head and then lays out. So the referee's confused, don't know what happened. But yeah, they did that spot in the match. And I think after that it was. I'm trying to think what else happened in this match because it wasn't a whole lot. Like because I don't think AJ hit his phenomenal forearm or his Styles Clash. Like they didn't hit none of their usual moves. I know Dominic hit his usual. Where you leap over the top rope into that senton that Eddie did and stuff like that. He did deliver. I think he delivered the 619 to AJ Styles at some point. And the only spot I remember for sure was the finish, and that was AJ went into the calf crusher, and Dominic had zipped his boot down. I think there was one spot where Dominic did something with the turnbuckle, and that was meant to distract the ref, and I think that's what led to the chair spot, where they pretended to get knocked out by the chair. But then the calf crusher's in, he's submitting him, got his leg in a goddamn submission hold, the foot in submission hold, and stuff like that, and basically Dominic unzipped his boot so that when he, applied the calf crusher, it'd be hard to apply it in because he ripped off his boot. And that led to Dominic taking the boot and hitting AJ into the head with it. And then folks just got no care in the world for the work you're doing, man. You notice that? Anyway, Dominic Mysterio then hit a frog splash off the top of, I'm trying to get this under 30 minutes, hit a frog splash onto AJ Styles. I think that was it, right? I think he hit him with the boot, and he hit a frog splash on the AJ for the 1, 2, 3. So that was real. The finish was it was nice and clever, but it was like the only thing worth noting in the whole match. Like that's the big thing that to me that kind of confused me is like, that was really, or that was like, yeah, like if you think about it, I gave the match maybe a 6.5, maybe, because again, just more that just didn't hit, like it didn't really resonate. So maybe they could run it back and AJ wins it in Paris. Clash at Paris is at the very end of August, so maybe they run it back there. Be interesting to see if they do it like there, maybe. But yep, I was wrong on predictions again. This was one of the ones I actually thought I was gonna be right on because the Solo and the Becky match, I actually thought I was gonna be wrong on those. Or that was the most potential I had to be wrong like that, because the one that was one of those to me gone either way. This was one I actually thought was gonna happen, and yeah, I was not right, man. So I was 2-3 on predictions, man. So I had more predicted wrong than right, and I was like, man, if I'm wrong on this last prediction, that's gonna be the complete opposite of yesterday. Because yesterday I was 4-2 on predictions. 4 I predicted right, 2 wrong, and I was about to be the opposite on the next night, 2-4. But I got saved because the next match was the main event of the evening, and that was Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. And Cody came out there with, I think it was like Dusty Rhodes, rest in peace, Dusty, his dad, Dusty Rhodes, legendary. I think he quoted, I don't know if it was just a speech or a promo that he's done in the past or something, and he quoted that in the, the text. The dialogue was all spread across the screen of what his dad was saying and stuff like that. And Cody, rose through the ground like he usually does with his mask, with the little wings and the skull type look, the golden skull mask and wings type look. Comes out from underneath the ring. Crowd does the whoa in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? As he's coming down to the ring. So yeah, he comes down to the ring. John Cena comes down to the ring, and if he's as a heel been doing the whole thing where like he has the plain font, right? Like it's a black background and in white text that says John Cena. That's what he's been doing since he's been a heel. And this time when he hit the like after that part of the song hit and the beat dropped, it turned into all the colors like it usually would, like where it's the colorful background, the Cena sign, the Cena look of him, having that, where he's going like that. You know what I'm saying? Where it has the traditional Cena or going like this, the traditional Cena, look and background and colorful background posted, and Cena goes back and does his usual entrance. Because before he was coming out there with no facial expression, the title was, turned the opposite way where the title was behind him and stuff like that. And he's not making these facial expression. He's just, playing like that, walking down to the ring. But this time, he was back to old Cena like he did on this past Friday, saying that, Cody brought the old Cena back, and this was indeed true. It was not like some story they were setting up to, screw Cody or anything. This was legit, man, because he Came down to the ring, does his running down the ring. He's hyped. He's making the facial expressions, panning into the crowd, high fiving. Oh, I don't think he really high fived anybody actually, because that ramp was pretty big. So he's talking, and he told the cameraman, he always talks to the cameraman. He's like, hey, you got a run in you, because you got to run down the ring. He's like, all right, let's do it. So he does the run down the ring, the traditional scene that we all know and love entrance. Slides into that ring, hits the ropes a couple times, does the 3-second tan on the 3-second tan part of the song where he says that, and does the running of the ropes, like I said, and throws the guy done had into the crowd. So yeah, we got traditional Cena back, smiling and all good things like that. So I got into the match. They hit John Cena with the, he's the undisputed champion, being in New Jersey or SummerSlam for the last time. And, the announcement is never seen 17, 17-time world champion John Cena. Boom. And gets the entrance, and we get into the match, and this match was great. It was fun, and it didn't need all the goddamn extra smoke and mirrors. As far as like the tables and chairs, not ladders, tables and chairs and stuff, but not as far as like people intervening into the match. Like, we get, a Randy Orton or this person or that person. It's not like a bunch of different people in the match. It's just strictly a match between these two guys, and I gave it like a 9 out of 10 overall, 9.5, 9 out of 10. Was a great match, probably the best Cena match if we're being honest. Other than the Punk match, it was easily probably the best Cena match we've seen in the whole retirement tour and in recent memory. So, only thing I remember from this match off the top of my head is Cena did one thing where he picked up the steel stairs and threw it to the outside onto Cody, and it landed. Are you thinking like, oh, maybe Cody gonna get out the way? It's like, nope, he flush hit Cody right there with steel steps. And there was one spot where they delivered their finishers a couple of times, so it's kind of hard to keep up with that one because they delivered each other's finishers to each other a couple of times. But I think there was a one where they went out to the floor and they were fighting on the floor. Oh, no, actually, Cena went to the front of the barricade where Tyrese Halliburton was, and the crowd's booing because obviously he's not on their team and stuff. So Cena grabs his crutches because he messed up his knee. I think his knee or foot or something in one of the games, and he took his goddamn crutch and smashed Cody with it. And then they fought onto the outside where the fans are, and that led to the the little metal guardrail where there's like you can move it around and stuff. So they had that, and Cody delivers a suplex on the Cena onto that goddamn metal rail right there, and that was freaking nice. And then they go through the curtain, and you're like, where, is there going to be a camera in there showing what's going on in there where they went through the curtain, and where Cody rises, for his entrance, that it has Cena having Cody in attitude adjustment position where he's got the fireman's carry, and he's rising as he has him on there. The thing is rising, and he holds him up like this, smiling and stuff. And I'm like, yo, that was a dope, cold freaking visual right there. I said it, even you can see it on my TikTok clip. I was like, that was a dope cold video right there, or look right there. And so he delivers the attitude adjustment onto the floor, the rampway, freaking nasty. And then he throws Cody into the ring. And I don't know all the order this stuff went in, but I know there was one where Cody hit I think he hit one Cody cutter, and that was a near fall. And there was one where Cody hit a power driver, right? Or jackknife power driver. And that's not, used. It's used rarely, and Cena kicked out of that. Then there was one where Cena, I think, hit a couple of attitude, or I think it was one where Cena hit an attitude adjustment through the announce table, threw Cody back in, didn't get the cover, or didn't get the 3 count. And I think there was one where Cody hit, or John Cena hit a super AA off the second rope, and I surely thought that was it. And it was not, man. Then Cody hit 3 crossroads in a row after he had threw Cena through the table in a corner. And Super Cena came alive, baby, because he kicked out of after he got thrown through a table, and then immediately 3 crossroads and kicked out, man. So Super Cena, my guy, the guy I grew up on, the guy that was my favorite of all time. You know what I'm saying? Super Cena. I mean, he's still in my top 5, but when he was like easily my favorite of all time, like the number one. Now he's one of them, but he was the number one back then. But anyway, Super Cena came back in the fray, and he kicked out of that. And then there was I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it was like actually that's the finish. I'm not going to go into that yet. Because Cody unscrewed the buckle where the bottom rope fell down. It's all the bottom rope is loose and it's fall down on the ground. So he hits Cena with that twice, the turnbuckle thing that's off. He hits him with that that's now unscrewed from the ring, hits Cena with that twice. And then Cena gets a submission in and uses the rope as extra leverage with the STF. And then Cody kind of had his head wrapped around it. It wasn't as good, but he wrapped his head around the rope around his head and stuff like that. And then they broke away from that. And then I think the finish of the match was off the top rope. I think it was like a Cody cutter like thing, but I don't know if they cleared all the distance, but they both went through the table off the top rope. I think it was supposed to be maybe a cutter or something, but Cena sold it. He's getting back up to his feet, and I think that led to Cody hitting the salute. That was like his Shawn Michaels, I'm sorry, I love you, like when he did the Sweet Chin Music to Ric Flair when he retired. And this was his version of that because he saluted to John Cena before he hit the crossroads, and that was the 1, 2, 3, man. There was other stuff that happened in the match, like, Cody did like a kind of, it was like a moonsault-esque, it was like a moonsault cross body type maneuver because he kind of flipped over, but not in a traditional way, and it lands into a cross body. But there was other parts of this match, I think there was like also a Cody cutter off the top of the turnbuckle, but I can't remember every single spot. But anyway, Cody beats him for the 1, 2, 3. And so he's emotional. Like they both have an emotional look on their face. And, Cody gives Cena the hug. So it's a legit face turn, y'all. No shenanigans, no like switching and turns and all this other type of stuff. Nope. It's legit a Cena face turn. And we further knew that when the pyro went off, Cena raises Cody's hand as Cody's the new WWE champion. I was 3-3. I ended this night with 3-3 with predictions. 3 right, 3 wrong. And I just figured Cody wasn't gonna win King of the Ring. And then they wouldn't put Cody through an entire King of the Ring tournament, face Cena again at one of their biggest PLEs, and lose again to Cena. I didn't think that was happening, especially after he had already lost to him at WrestleMania. So I didn't think he was losing to him again after he just went through the tournament and then faces him at SummerSlam. Like, you telling me that in all the Cena Cody saga, like, they only get Cody never beat Cena, the guy who's pretty much the Cena of today as far as the face of the company, superhero guy of today, you know what I'm saying? There's no way that Cena wasn't going to lose to him at least once, and this was the once, because after that was over, Cody gets out of the ring, he has his championship. We get, as I said in the beginning of the video, the return of Brock Lesnar, bro. And this man comes out here, we hear the music, you can see my reaction on TikTok. He comes out there with more hair. So you remember when he had the ponytail and he, had hair right here in the ponytail. Now he's got hair back here too, like on the back of his head, where it's like a mop combo. I don't even know what you call it, where it's like the split ponytail, but then you also got hair back here. I don't even know what you call that type of stuff. I think I might have had something like that before. But anyway, the guy done president, old school president got done hairstyle. But anyway, he had more, he got more hair and all that stuff. He's looking got done big, jacked, and tanned as usual and stuff like that. Comes down to the ring, F5s, the crowd's going crazy. When his music hits, he hits a F5 on John Cena, and that's how we go off the air, bro, with Brock Lesnar returning. So the history is obviously there, because for those who don't know, overall, I give this night, I think, a 8 to 8.5, but I'm actually giving my review on what night I thought was better, and then I'm gonna get you guys out of here. So boom, Brock comes back, and obviously they have history. Like, there was that time where Brock was actually or Cena was actually Brock Lesnar's first match when he returned from the UFC in 2012. Cena was his first match, remember? Because they had that Extreme Rules match in 2012 where Cena surprisingly won. I was happy. A lot of people were like, oh, that shouldn't have happened because he just came off the UFC, which does make sense, but as a youngin', I was happy. As a young Super Cena fan, I was happy. Anyway, I was always happy to see Cena win, especially at that time. Anyway, boom. Then in 2014, the real creation of Suplex City, because he said it at WrestleMania 31 when he faced Roman Reigns, but before that, the real Suplex City happened because he suplexed Cena. I think it was like he suplexed John. He basically squashed John Cena like he's never been squashed before. He squashed John Cena in that SummerSlam match in 2014 where Cena got like maybe 2 offensive moves or something like that. And Brock Lesnar dominated him the whole match because this was after he had conquered the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania. So Cena wanted to kind of keep that momentum going, or that match kept that momentum going, because Brock delivered 16, I think it was 16 German suplexes and 2 F5s and packed Cena up 1, 2, 3. So they no doubt have history, funny enough, at SummerSlam. And Brock has returned at SummerSlam. He returned at SummerSlam, remember, in 2021 when he went to face Roman, who had, funny enough, just beaten Cena. So the last time Brock returned at SummerSlam, he actually F5 Cena after the show went off the air, though. But he confronted Roman Reigns after he had just beaten John Cena. And now he's returned at SummerSlam after Cody's beaten John Cena. So at first he returned after Roman had beat John Cena in 2021 SummerSlam. And now 2025 SummerSlam, he returns after Cody beats John Cena. So something about Brock coming back when Cena gets beat at SummerSlam. Because the last time, more history, because funny enough, the last time we saw Brock Lesnar was 2023 SummerSlam after he had lost to Cody Rhodes. So Cody's the new WWE champ, even though he had beat Cody. Last time we saw Brock, he lost to Cody at SummerSlam in 2023, and he returns after Cody beats John Cena to become the new WWE champion. So all these things kind of intertwined like that. And I think Brock has the most SummerSlam main events. I think he's like 9 SummerSlam main events. So yeah, Brock would be Mr. SummerSlam if Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania. But anyway, a lot of history there. Overall, I think I give this night like a 8.5 out of 10. I think that night one, you know what's weird? There was, like I said, the back-to-back-to-back freaking stipulation matches were ridiculous because there was a cage match, or there was literally a TLC match, a no DQ match, and a steel cage match, all back-to-back. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's stupid to me how none of the stipulation matches were on night one. Like one of them should have, like the women's no DQ probably should have switched the tag match. Like maybe the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair tag match could have been on night 2, and then the no DQ match could have been on night 1. I think that it would have stuck out a lot better if that were the case. But anyway, both matches really only had 3 matches that delivered to me. Like on night 1, the first match delivered, the co-main event delivered with Jelly Roll, Randy Orton, Logan Paul, and Drew, and then the main event delivered with Cody and Gunther. Punk and Gunther, and then the aftermath with Seth cashing in was great. And then same thing here, the night started off good with the women, and then the second match was fantastic, the 10 out of 10 TLC match, and then the 9 out of 10 classic match that Cody Cena 2 in the main event. And yeah, so both nights had 3 matches that I would actually watch back and thought delivered well, and then the other 3 just were not hitting, and they both were kind of dead in the middle too. Like they were both dead in the middle, but like it was kind of good at the beginning, good to great at the end, and then in the middle it was just like work with me, not against me, work for me and adore me. Anyway, yeah, that's how it went. But I think night 2 may have gotten a little more of the edge because the main event delivered great and the TLC match delivered great. Because of those 2 greats, I think that might slightly put night 2 over night 1 and the Brock return. The cash-in was great, but I feel like the match between Punk and Gunther was great. I think I give that 8.5, 9 out of 10. And then the aftermath made it a 10 out of 10 pretty much with Seth cashing in. But I thought that I don't know. It's kind of hard to grade what night was better. Maybe you could say night 1 because the cash-in was such a big moment. So maybe, but even then, Brock returning is a massive moment too, considering all the allegations and stuff. I don't know if it's cleared up yet, but anyway, I don't know. Y'all let me know if y'all thought night 1 or 2 was better. I don't even know. Maybe night 2, just because that main event delivered just as great as last night's main event and had a big thing happen, right? Brock returning afterwards, which I know some people may not like, but hey, man, I'm in for it. I've never been a Brock hater. I've always thought he was. I did think it got a little annoying when he wasn't there at times, but other than that, I always thought he gave that presence as a beast, and I understand. But anyway, shoot, we could get that Brock Gunther match we've been looking forward to, or Brock. Brian Breaker, if you want to put a new star over, or Brock Lesnar, Jacob Fatu. It's still a few matches left, but anyway, Brock and Cena have history. But because of Brock having allegations and stuff, I did not think he was going to be at all in a match with John Cena for his retirement tour. I figured Brock was going to come back when the allegations cleared up, but they brought him back now, bro. I'm like, that's crazy. I did not think he was coming back. I thought something was going to happen, but I didn't think Brock, of all people, was not in my mind. That is an iconic Cena rival, though, if we're being honest. But that's just not somebody because of the whole situation. That is not what I thought was gonna be one of his matches, last matches this year. But anyway, I don't know if night 1 or night 2 was better. Maybe night 1 was better because that cash in was so iconic. So maybe night 1 gets a little more of the edge. But they both kind of had like 3 good matches, 3 to bad matches. So they all kind of had that going for them. But y'all, so basically half of SummerSlam was good to great. Other half was just to not really, you rushing to look back forward to look back to see it. But yeah, so I was 4-2 on night 1 in predictions, as in predicted correctly versus predicted wrong, and then I was 3-3 on night 2. But anyway, Lord appreciate you guys. At least I'm getting you on the 45 minutes. I thought I was gonna be able to get you on the 30, but I wanted to say a lot of stuff. I'm probably gonna still want to say most stuff when I get off here. But anyway, at the end of the day, we're gonna say this is what's gonna be this project. Continue to come out with the content videos bangers forever and ever. Forever is a long time for you guys, over and over again. We're gonna put in the workaround time whatever to get to the top of this goddamn content creating social media game as a whole. Follow all those socials down below, like, comment, subscribe before you go. Let me know in the comments down below which night you thought was better and how you felt about SummerSlam as a whole. And whenever I think what I'm gonna do is from now on annually I'm gonna stream maybe the big 4, right? Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series if I can and I'm off work. I think I'm just gonna stream those 4 PLEs every year, you know what I'm saying? Unless I get off on like in terms of work, I get off on a certain occasion, then I might be able to do a different one. But usually it's gonna be those 4. I think I'm just gonna do that every year. But I appreciate you guys, and I shall see you on the next video, man. Like, comment, subscribe before you go to the channel. That is the vibe that DJ's on.